I am thrilled to be your host once again. It's like, Lisa, we were on last week, so we could do this weekly if you wanted to. Diane Gatsis, Havinga, the host for Village in Motion on a Wednesday. I'm really going to freak out people. It's technically tax day, April 15th, but April Fools, you got until July, so relax, don't worry about it. But I think June is still the Virginia tax date, and I'm not even sure what date. But with me is Lisa Fiddermon, who is our Pastoral Ministry Coordinator, and she has taken over the Pastoral Ministry program. And of course, like every other program on campus, you're not necessarily doing what you were originally hired to do, but you are to a certain extent. But you will also see Lisa at the concierge desk, is that what they call it? And I know some of the other people who work for you are doing deliveries, and you're all over the place in that sense. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, really, I'm serious about this, because I think faith is being tested by any faith group, anyone who has faith, wondering, you know, what's going on, like in any crisis. Grief, we are all experiencing grief. I mean, and it's not just a loss of a person, it's the loss of maybe income, it's the loss of certainty, security, and then finally, I'm going back to loss. We've lost not everything, but every one of us here at Green Spring, whether you're a long-term resident, a brand new resident, a new staff, or someone who's been here for years. And I thought I've seen everything in my 16 years here at Green Spring, but I've never seen anything like this here at Green Spring, and then out in the so-called real world. And that's what I think is so mind-boggling, that when we've gone through the GI and the flu and the lockdowns for that, staff anyway, you know, we were able to just go home and live our life. And residents, for the most part, unless they were over in continuing care, pretty much did what they needed to do. The dining rooms were open, the groups, you know, unless when it got really serious like it did last spring. But you were able to go out, you were able to go to the restaurant, to go to the movies, and now all that's taken away. So as a pastoral ministry coordinator, and you are a pastor in your own right, what do you say to people? It's hard. And grief and loss is a topic that we really don't want to talk about until it's time to really talk about it. And so but it's important to talk about it, because that's how healing starts. Healing grows out of being able to talk about it. I remember one of the hardest moments for me as a pastor, it was a couple of years ago. I lost a few of my key leaders in a very short period of time. There was one couple who was called back to Brazil unexpectedly. And then there was another couple who had received a job promotion, and we had prayed for them to get this job promotion, and then they moved out of the commutable area. And then there was a young man who was with us, or with me, for pastoral counseling, for premarital counseling. And him and his fiance were with us for a period of time, and then he suddenly died at the age of 31 from heart failure. So it was heartbreaking for me, because these people were like family to me. And it happened so quickly. And so my world was shaken as a result of that. So, but it was through my faith and through my hope in God that helped me through that difficult, messy time in my life. And I believe that's how faith works. That's what I love about Pastoral Ministries, is that it's a unique way of dealing with the messiness and the difficulties in life, all the while still allowing hope to come through. And so, you know, grief and loss is unavoidable. It's unavoidable. Death is unavoidable.
And guess what? Life is unavoidable too. We still have to live life, right? And whether it's the loss of a loved one because of death, or because of a divorce, or because of a separation of some type, whether it's a loss of a dream for yourself or for your family, a loss of freedoms, like being quarantined in a global pandemic, who knew? But we all have choices to make in how we deal with grief and loss. We really do.
So before you get into some of the choices, I think there's always the tendency for people, whether or not you're a person of faith, and it again doesn't matter what religion, if you're a Christian or you're a Buddhist or whatever, when something like this happens, or something happens to you and you think it's just happening to me, not to anyone else, that you get angry at God and say, well, why doesn't God just fix it? So how do you address that when people come to you with those questions?
Yeah, and those are really hard questions. The thing is, the comfort is that knowing that we're not in it by ourselves, and that that God is still with us, even in the midst of our faith, in the midst of our grief and our loss. The thing is, if everything were to go well, we wouldn't really know what it is to really know well if we didn't have some difficulties in our lives. So it actually helps to make us stronger, to help to build stronger character. As you know, I hate to say it, but it is kind of like tough love in a sense, and helping us to become better. Well, maybe I should rephrase that, but you know, it's not an intentional thing, but there is something good that can come out of tragedy. There's something good that comes out of grief and loss, and we have to choose whatever that is in order for life to make sense for us.
Okay, so you were going to talk about the path to get to where we need to be.
Yeah, there's an excerpt that I wanted to read from Max Lucado's book. It's called Unshakable Hope. And what he does in chapter 2, he asks us this question. And the question is, how is your foundation holding up? And he uses a modern day version of a certain parable. Two people set out to build their houses, both impacted by a storm. The first went to RPF Home Supply, which is regrets, pain, and fear. He ordered lumber that was rotted by guilt, nails that were rusty from pain, and cement that was watered down with anxiety. So anxiety, guilt, all that are things that we might be experiencing at some point, right? But since his home was constructed with RPF supplies, every day was consumed with RPF, regret, pain, and fear. The second builder chose a different supplier. She secured her supplies from Hope Incorporated. Rather than choosing regret, pain, and fear, she found ample promises of grace, protection, and security. And she made the deliberate, conscious decision to build a life from the storehouse of hope. And the questions are, which of the two builders are wiser? Which of the two were happier? And of course, which of the two are most like us? And it's an important question for us to answer.
Can you be both?
Can you be both? Yeah, all of it, right? Yeah, and it depends on what day it is. You know, we all have good days and bad days. There's some days that are that we're able to manage a little better, and then there are days where we just need a little help. But in any case, we have a choice to make. Which day is it? How are we going to choose our days? How are we going to choose hope? How are we going to be able to find hope in those days when we're not having a good day? But the hope for me is that storms in life, they come and they go. And I would classify the COVID season as a storm. because it's not going to last forever. I mean, it's bad, it's long, and it seems like it's going to last forever, but it doesn't. Every storm, there's a season. Every season ends, and new seasons begin. So we have that hope that when this is all over, we'll be able to live a different life, but live it with hope. And so in this season of change and uncertainty, we can choose to have hope as we are grieving and as we are encountering our losses. And since you reminded us that it's National Poetry Month, I'm wanting to end with these poetic words from a singer. Her name is Yolanda Adams. And I think it might help us. Poems have a way of
and anything that can help us, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it goes like this. It's called "Still I Rise." Shattered, but I'm not broken. Wounded, but time will heal. Heavy, the load, the cross I bear. Lonely, the road I trod, I dare. Shaken, but here I stand. Weary, still I press on. Long are the nights, the tears I cry. Dark are the days, no sun in the skies. Yet still I rise. Never to give up, never to give in, against all odds. Yet still I rise high above the clouds. At times I feel low, yet still I rise. Sometimes I'm troubled, but not in despair. Struggling, I make my way through. Trials, they come to make me strong. I must endure, I must hold on. Yet still I rise, never to give up, never to give in against all odds. Yet still I rise, high above the clouds. At times I feel low, still yet I rise. Above all my problems, above all my eyes can see, knowing God is able to strengthen me indeed. Yet still I rise, never to give up, never to give in against all odds. Yet still I rise.
Yeah, I think we should end there, but I have a few more thoughts. I will also add there's a Buddhist statement where when you wake up, you should say, and now I'm going to forget, where you wake up and you embrace the day and you basically say, I'm going to meet it, whatever happens. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna start with the smile, mm-hmm. and go forward.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing it because it just slipped out of my mind what I say. And the other thing when we're talking about this will end, we mm-hmm. don't, and that's the uncertainty is what's really, I think, wearing us all down. But there have been some positive things. Mm-hmm. The air, have you noticed the air is so much cleaner and brighter? The oceans are starting to respond. Mm-hmm. You know, Venice has dolphins back in its canals.
Yeah.
I mean, so things like that we didn't have before. Mm-hmm. And I think people have really started to respond in a way that, you know, we would stay in touch, but now, you know, we're doing FaceTime versus a phone call or a text or email. But, mm-hmm. you know, my son is calling me, I mean, not that he doesn't call me, but he calls me more on a regular basis. We touch base. We try to, you know, at dinner time, because he's by himself. Yeah. But the fact that people are reaching out. So the question I also think for all of us is when this is all done, mm-hmm. and we have taken those steps to connect with our neighbors and our families and are we going to continue? Yeah. Or are we going to revert to do we really want to go back to the so-called normal mm-hmm. that we knew? Mm-hmm. Or are we going to say, you know what, there were certain things that really wasn't really good about the way we were living our lives.
Yeah.
And I think those are questions that all of us are going to have to face, because it's not going to revert back to the way we were. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, because there are some things that the experts say that it takes 30 days for a habit to form. So if we are establishing good habits now, then those habits will continue to be a pattern for us later on when this is all over. But one thing for sure, we'll definitely have cleaner hands.
There you go. And hopefully we'll continue to just keep washing them and go from there. Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful, Lisa. I really am happy you came on, and hopefully you can come on next month and we can continue this discussion, because it's not going to go away anytime soon. And we are going to try to do some kind of virtual things later on for the residents on this particular topic. So hopefully next month, which isn't that far away.
Yeah, true.
So thank you so much. Be safe, stay healthy.